I know what you're thinking. Today I'm going to be talking about indoor flea markets and garage sales, and the first thought that probably comes to your mind is something like this. Today I'm here to tell you to think again. Hey everybody, this is Tim with the University of Vinyl. Thanks for checking in again with my new video. I know there's probably a lot of people that might be new to my channel. Encourage you to check out the backlog of videos I've made. I have a fledgling channel in the VC here on YouTube. I've been around for a couple months now, but I'm really pleased with some of the traction a few of my videos have made. And I'm back here today to talk about, here's the deal. I've been collecting records seriously now for about 5 years. And I would say over the last 8 or 9 months, I have had an incredible good streak of luck when it comes to indoor flea markets and garage sales. So I'm in Colorado, I'm north of Denver, and there are just a ton of these indoor flea markets. You know, these things that have the little spaces or stalls that are contracted out or rented out to individuals. And there happened to be a surprising amount of amateur record collectors or hoarders or flippers. I don't know what they are, but you will find all kinds and varieties of vinyl records in these places. Everything from beat up old 78s to multiple copies of that Barry Manilow album that I just showed you. However, for whatever reason, if you're persistent and if you keep going to these places, you'll eventually kind of find a few honey holes. And these people, I don't know if they go to garage sales or if they're buying collections or going to estate sales, but for whatever reason, I'm finding a lot of great iconic albums in these indoor flea markets. And then also occasionally I'll get lucky at a garage sale. I've got a couple I'm going to show you that came from garage sales. So I will get started with something that I found yesterday. I had just watched Norman Maslow's ranking of his top, I think it was 13 Rolling Stones albums. And I believe he had Beggar's Banquet at number 1. And previously to, you know, collecting records, I had a decent vinyl collection in the 70s and 80s. I went to college, and I think my parents dumped everything in the garage sale that they had, so I've been playing catch up for the last 5 years. And of course, you know, in the late 80s and early 90s, I went crazy on CDs. I still have a ton of CDs, although I've offloaded a lot of those. So I've just been trying to play catch up. I have basically the entire Rolling Stones discography on CD somewhere, and slowly been making my way back, but I did not have Beggar's Banquet. And I've only come across it a couple times in the wild. And I'm not talking about record shops today at all. So these are only flea markets and garage sales, where the element of surprise is there, the element of excitement is there if you do find something worthwhile. But we all know the experience of going to record shops, and believe me, I'm a frequent customer. But something keeps drawing me back to these flea markets and garage sales. Here's one of the reasons. So this was yesterday. This is a second pressing, 1969, I believe, of Beggar's Banquet. One of the all-time great Rolling Stone albums. You know, this leads off with Sympathy for the Devil, Side 2, Street Fightin' Man, and then of course we've got, you know, Stray Cat Blues, Salt of the Earth, basically a tour de force of prototypical classic rock and roll. Surprisingly, the sleeve is in good shape. Of course, this is a gatefold with this iconic artwork on it. And it's on that beautiful London label, almost a deep purple. But looked it up on Discogs. This is a repress, second pressing, 1969. The only reason I'm showing these things today is because you can go out and find a lot of beat up records. For whatever reason, I'm getting lucky, and everything I'm going to show you today, the record itself is VG Plus to near mint, and this happens to be near mint. What my typical thing that I'll do is if I find something that is in really good shape and there's surface noise, I have a buddy who owns a record shop in a nearby town with an ultrasonic cleaner, and he'll hook me up with, you know, as long as I don't overload him and go into with 5 albums. If I go in with a couple albums on a Saturday and pick up something from his shop at the same time, he's happy to do the cleaning for me. So I just did a needle drop on this yesterday after I got home, and it is very, very, very quiet. There's a little bit of surface noise here and there, but I'm probably going to get this cleaned. But there is example number 1. So late last summer, I went to a garage sale, and there's a gentleman there, my age, 50, 55, and his wife. Typical suburban home, and they're having a cool garage sale. I was just happened to be in the neighborhood. I was coming from a Starbucks. I cut through this neighborhood occasionally, saw the garage sale sign. Out of the corner of my eye, I just saw stacks and stacks of vinyl records. So, pulled over, got out of the car, and I ended up coming home with a lot of great stuff, but this is kind of the creme de la creme. Pink Floyd, Animals, everything that this guy had was in mint condition, okay? This was a first USA press. It sounds incredible. And his pricing policy, I'm not complaining at all. He had one area of records that were all $5. So think about Billy Squier, Emotional Rescue, things like that. Those were in the $5 pile. And believe me, I did partake in that pile. Everything else was all $10. And there was a guy ahead of me that had the Wall in his hand and metal. Obviously, this guy had the whole Pink Floyd catalog. For whatever reason, he didn't have Animals in his hand, so I picked it up. $10. And couldn't be happier with that. So that is a very nice garage sale story. I am not typically someone that's looking on a Friday, oh, where are all the garage sales on the weekend? But I do keep my eyes peeled if I'm out and about. I will pull into, occasionally, I'll pull into a garage sale. And it pays off sometimes. Another indoor flea market. This is a different one that I go to occasionally. And here is Creedence Clearwater Revival's Bayou Country, one of their iconic albums. You see a little bit of ring wear and patina on that cover, but all in all, the integrity of that cover is just fine. And I still remember this was $7 in this indoor flea market. That awesome fantasy label. Again, the vinyl, the record is near mint. Dead silent. Amazing record. You know, the fidelity and dynamics on these late 60s into the early 70s records are just, if you can find clean copies, you're good, okay? And I'm as guilty as anyone else in the VC. I am an audiophile nut. I mentioned this in a couple other videos ago, good sounding records that you can find, that are easy to find. I have a growing stack of MoFis, okay? I do not shy away from buying MoFis, although I do like to try and find them the first time around when they've been released, before the prices go crazy. But the biggest thrill that I get is what I'm talking about in this video are these flea markets and these garage sales. Let's look at another one. Almost a perfect copy of I'm a Lonesome Fugitive by Merle Haggard, on the mid to late 60s Rainbow Capital label. Again, plays flawlessly, no surface noise. Drink Up and Be Somebody is the fantastic song, although there's several on this album. But again, another indoor flea market find. $1 Billion Babies. This is actually, hopefully you can see that, a quadra disc. You know, I've played this on my system a couple times and it's not doing it for me. I don't have the right setup. I'm probably going to let this thing go and list it on Discogs for somebody else to enjoy. But this was kind of a thrill because I've run across different specimens of this particular album and they've been beat up and falling apart. The little holder that holds the $1 billion bill is like missing. This has got a complete $1 billion bill in it. And the record is near mint. $10 in an indoor flea market. This is really recent for me. This was last week. Again, I'm in another indoor flea market and stumble across this album. Now, a lot of these booths that have vinyl records, they'll have a good 150, 200 records depending on which one you're checking out. This particular place had a lot of records, and this was actually listed for sale for $19. And the guy actually had a glass case with some grails in it. You know, a couple Led Zeppelin albums, some Pink Floyd. I think he had Pink Floyd Metal in there. And he actually had a couple Townes Van Zandt albums in there. But didn't want to deal with the glass case, the keys, the looking at things, so I was just kind of checking out what he had in his bins. And I found this, and this is a first pressing on that gorgeous olive green Warner Brothers label. The vinyl's in perfect shape. And, you know, remember this album had the detachable, here's the back cover, but this also had, you can see maybe the serration there, there was an attachable calendar, fold out, that was present and complete. So if you go on Discogs, you'll find a lot of copies of this album, and a lot of them will say missing calendar. But the calendar was here, and it was detached from the actual album, but everything's in great shape. And the kicker on this particular purchase, this flea market has one of these policies where the price tag had a date stamp when it came in, and or when it was put on for sale. This was put on for sale back in 2018, and it had sat there all that time. And after a certain amount of months, it goes down in price, 10, 20, 30. Anyway, this thing was 50% off. I picked it up for $9. Perfect sounding album. Another iconic, what is this, 1972. And while we're talking about this album, has there ever been a better 1-2 punch than Under My Wheels and Be My Lover? I'm going to put it out there. If anybody has a better 1-2 punch leading off an album than those 2 tracks, I want to hear from you in the comments, please. 1973, Houses of the Holy, Led Zeppelin with that gorgeous Hypnosis cover. I found this late last summer in an indoor flea market. This was either $8 or $9, and it's a Robert Ludwig cut. I talked about Robert Ludwig in a couple of other videos, but that's basically what you want. You want to find that RL and in the dead wax. And this is on. This was nice. It had these Zeppelin albums all had really nice heavy duty cardstock inners, and this was complete. The album looks great. I'm not going to pull it out. I had a couple people complaining about me pulling out albums with my fingertips in a couple videos ago, so I'm being careful today. This was in an indoor flea market. This is, of course, music from Big Pink, 1968, I believe, the band's first album. This is a first press. You can tell that it's first press by the white border along the top. Of course, that's the iconic Bob Dylan artwork on the cover. We've got, again, that rainbow capital label. Vinyl's perfect. This is one of the ones where I brought it to my buddy with the ultrasonic cleaner. Cleaned it right up. Sounds great. Now, would I like to have the MoFi of this album that came out 2 years ago? Absolutely, sure would. But it's come and gone. It's gone up in price. There is something to be said for the integrity or the provenance of having a first or second pressing. You know, you've got a little bit of patina maybe on that album cover, maybe a little bit of ring wear, but if you get lucky and find clean vinyl and it's been pressed well, etc., etc., we all know what those albums are, then you're in luck. Last story about this, I was actually talking to there's like an owner of the flea market, and she actually has her own little stall of albums that she sells. And she's like, I think she's the manager of this facility. Anyway, she told me that she had bid on a storage unit. Last year with the pandemic, unfortunately, along with everything else, things went sideways, and some people lost. They had to let storage units go where they lapsed in rent, and some of these storage unit facilities have got an incredible strict policy. You miss 2 months rent and it's going up for auction or something like that. But anyway, the lady had told me she had purchased an entire storage unit, a large one, and there were over 1,000 albums and boxes in that storage unit along with a bunch of other stuff. And a lot of them were promos with radio kits and things like that. She thought it was maybe an old radio DJ or something, but this was in there, and she had this price at $15. Was happy to pay it. After I checked out the condition of this thing. So I've got 2 more albums today to talk about. Again, an indoor flea market find. Both of the albums I'm going to show are $15, and they were sealed. So the girl who was in the booth, it was her booth, told me, oh yeah, I picked up this dead stock. I didn't really ask where and how she found the dead stock, but they were Dirty Mind and that album. Both sealed. Awesome hype sticker on Purple Rain there. It's got the poster in it as well. Yes, these have since been opened. I listened to my records. Anyway, both of these are $15. You can go on Discogs today and check out pricing on sealed Prince albums and be prepared to be surprised. That's it. That's all I have today. Hey everybody, thank you very much. Today I just wanted to talk about you have to have a positive attitude going into garage sales and flea markets. You have to be able to be persistent. So all of these flea market finds that I've shown today, I've gone into these places several times. And I'll go back maybe once a month, once every 6 weeks. If it's a ways away, it might be 3 or 4 months before I decide to go back in there. But if you're persistent and you're patient, you're probably going to get rewarded. And as far as garage sales go, that Pink Floyd Animals garage sale that I stumbled upon after I picked up coffee that morning was pretty early in the morning. I think I was doing our pandemic grocery shopping for the week, which I typically will do on a Saturday, and was driving by that garage sale. But if you're early to garage sales, your luck is obviously going to be better. Thanks very much. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Thanks for watching the videos. Would love it if you'd like to subscribe if you're new or you've just checked out a couple of my videos. I've got more in the pipeline. I'm testing out a new camera today, and I'm going to see how that turns out. But take care.